I'm Harvey Shapiro, and I'll be reading a few poems from my most recent book, The Sights Along the Harbor, published by Wesleyan University Press in 2006. I've published about 12 books of poetry, and I edited one book for the New American Library, Poets of World War II. I'll start with an early poem called The Heart. In the midst of words, your wordless image marches through the precincts of my night, and all the structures of my language lie undone. The bright cathedrals clatter, and the moon-topped spires break their stalk. Sprawled before that raid, I watch the towns go under, and in the waiting dark, I loose like marbles spinning from a child, the crazed and hooded creatures of the heart. I live in spent most of my adult life in Brooklyn, and so a lot of my poems are about the city. And I worked in Manhattan, so my poems are either set in Brooklyn or Manhattan, or some of them set on the eastern end of Long Island, either on the North Fork or the South Fork, both of which I've gone to summers. This is a city poem called Through the Boroughs. I hear the music from the street every night, sequestered at my desk, my luminous hand finding the dark words hard, very hard. And the music from car radios is so effortless. And so I strive to join my music to that music, so that the air will carry my voice down the block, across the bridge, through the boroughs where people I love can hear my voice, saying to them through the music that their lives are speaking to them now as mine to me. This is another New York poem, and it also reflects my Jewish background. And the title, those of you who know John Donne's poetry will recognize as comes from Donne. Riding westward. It's holiday night, and crazy Jews are on the road, finished with fasting and high on prayer. On either side of the Long Island Expressway, the lights go spinning like the twin ends of my talus. I hope I can make it to Utopia Parkway, where my father lies at the end of his road, and then home to Brooklyn. Jews, departure from the law is equivalent to death. Shades, we greet each other darkly on the Long Island Expressway, where I say my own prayers for the dead, crowded in Queens, remembered in Queens, as far away as Brooklyn. Cemeteries break against the city like seas, a white froth of tombstones, or like schools of herring, still desperate to escape the angel of death. Entering the city, you have to say memorial prayers as he slides overhead, looking something like my father, approaching the ark as the gates close on the Day of Atonement, here in the car and in Queens and in Brooklyn. This is a Brooklyn Heights poem, which is the corner of Brooklyn that I've lived in and around for about 50 years. And it's a place where there have always been a lot of poets. Walt Whitman walked the streets that I walk on. He worked at the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, which is only a few blocks from where I live in Brooklyn. And George Oppen lived close by me. Louis Zukofsky, Hart Crane, of course, wrote his great epic, The Bridge, a few blocks from where I live. But this poem mentions a couple of British poets who were important to me. Brooklyn Heights. I'm on Water Street in Brooklyn, between the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge, the high charge of their traffic filling the empty street. Abandoned warehouses on either side. In the shadowed doorways, shades of Melville and Murder Incorporated. 5:00 October light, jets and gulls in the fleecy sky. Climbing the hill to Columbia Heights, I turned to see the cordage of the Brooklyn Bridge, and behind it, the battle gray Manhattan. This room shelved high with books, echoes with my midnights. Pages of useless lines swim in it. Only now and then a voice cuts through, saying something right. No sound is dissonant, which tells of life. The gaudy ensigns of this life flash in the streets. A December light, whipped by wind, is at the windows. Even now the English poets are in the street, Keats and Coleridge on Hicks Street, heading for the bridge. Swayed aloft there, the lower bay before them, they can bring me back my city, line by line. Oh, I want to read one poem about the war. Second World War, which was my war. And this is a bit of a reportage, I suppose. I mean, it's just something I saw during that war where I was in the 15th Air Force, flying out of Italy over Germany and Austria. Italy, 1944, which is when this scene happened. That day, when we came back from a mission, in a field beside the tent where we slept, lay a woman and a baby under a blanket. Beside the blanket was a pile of lira notes. A line like a chow line snaked through the field. She was taking them on, one by one, a squadron of flight crews and ground crews who could easily get in town whatever they wanted for a loaf of bread or a pack of cigarettes, but preferred to stand in a muddy field watching and waiting while a blanket humped and the woman earned whatever it was she had to earn in one day from that war. And a lot of my poems, my New York poems, of course, I just picked up on the street, as this one is, just from what people say. New York notes, caught on a side street in heavy traffic, I said to the cabbie, I should have walked. He replied, I should have been a doctor. When can I get on the 11:33? I asked the guy in the information booth at the Atlantic Avenue station. When they open the doors, he says. I am home among my people. And I'll close with one short poem. Called Desk. After my death, my desk, which is now so cluttered, will be bare wood, simple and shining, as I wanted it to be in my life, as I wanted my life to be. Thank you.